The council president, the magnificent Yulin leader Zorth, began the meeting as the chamber filled with anticipation. His rainbow-colored crystalline body dazzled in the center of the room under the massive crystal dome, a sight that never failed to awe even the most seasoned members of the council. His form refracted the rays of the surrounding light, sending a cascade of shimmering hues throughout the chamber. When he spoke, Zorth's voice, clear and resonant like the chime of delicate glass, filled every corner of the room. "Esteemed council members," he began, his voice amplifying across the chamber, "we are gathered here today to discuss a grave threat that we can no longer ignore, the threat of humanity." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. They are a species whose actions bring war and destruction in their wake. Their ability to turn anything, no matter how innocent, into a weapon is a danger we can no longer overlook. A hush fell over the assembled members of the SIL, the Galactic Council, as Zorth's words settled in. Among those present, all came from species spread across different corners of the galaxy, each a representative of their respective worlds, all now tasked with deciding the fate of an entire species. Lyra, the Valerian representative, was the first to speak. Her race, the Volans, were known for their ethereal beauty and peaceful way of life. Lyra herself was distinguished by her delicate, slender form, her transparent skin shimmering in the soft light of the chamber. She rose gracefully, her movements calm and measured, yet her voice carried the sharp edge of concern. "We, the Volans, have lived in tranquility in the deep reaches of the universe," she said, her voice soft but resonating with intensity. "The arrival of humans is unacceptable to our way of life. They disrupt the peace we have worked so hard to maintain." Her iridescent form glowed slightly, reflecting the tension that simmered just beneath her composed surface. Next, the Baran representative, GRS, rose to speak. His large, powerful frame was a sharp contrast to Lyra's delicate presence. The Barans were a warrior race, known for their strength and strategic minds. GRS's fist came down with a loud thud on the table, making the chamber echo with the sound of his fury. "We Barans are warriors," he growled, his deep, guttural voice filling the room. "But even we are threatened by humans. They possess the disturbing ability to turn anything into a weapon, even things we would never think of. Rocks, tools, even the very elements of nature, they make them deadly. We must stop them before they turn this galaxy into a battlefield." His eyes blazed with frustration as he finished, his massive arms crossed defiantly across his chest. The chamber buzzed with murmurs as GRS's words hit home. More and more representatives began to chime in, recounting their own planet's experiences with humanity. Each story told of the chaos and violence that seemed to follow humans wherever they went. Arya, the Flinter representative, floated forward, her wings shimmering in the light as she prepared to speak. The Flinters were a race that lived in perfect harmony with nature, choosing to embrace the beauty of the natural world rather than dominate it. Arya, like many of her people, was an advocate for peaceful coexistence with all species. But even she couldn't ignore the threat that humans posed. "We Flinters live with nature, not against it," Arya said, her gentle voice carrying an underlying note of sadness. "Yet when humans arrive on our planets, they turn even the trees and the creatures of the land into tools of war. They weaponize everything. This is not the way of harmony. It cannot be allowed to continue." Her iridescent scales shimmered as she fluttered back to her seat, the weight of her words settling over the council. From every corner of the chamber, voices rose, each representing a different world, each echoing the same concern. Whether they were the long and slender Volans or the short and broad Barans, all species agreed on one thing: humanity's capacity for violence and destruction was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Zorth raised his crystalline hand, and the chamber slowly fell silent once more. His voice, resonating like a perfect crystal note, cut through the tension. "As the Galactic Council, it is our duty to guide all species toward peace," Zorth said, his tone commanding the attention of all present. "Destroying humanity is not the solution, no matter how much their actions may tempt us. Our responsibility is to educate them, to teach them that their potential for destruction can be turned toward the pursuit of peace. If we succeed, we will not just protect the galaxy, we will bring humanity into the fold as a force for good." Lyra's eyes shimmered as she considered Zorth's words. She leaned forward, her voice thoughtful but cautious. "If we can educate them, perhaps they can become peaceful members of the galaxy," she said, "but we must not ignore the great risk involved. Their history shows that they are inherently violent. How can we be certain they will change?" GRS remained unconvinced. His powerful voice rumbled through the chamber once more. Humans are warriors, through and through. Controlling them may be impossible. They are unpredictable, dangerous. We Barans have faced countless enemies in our time, but none are as creative in their violence as humans. How do we manage such a species? His massive arms remained folded, his expression hard as stone. Arya, her wings gently fluttering, added a note of hope to the conversation. Perhaps there is a way, she said, her voice gentle but firm. Perhaps, if we understand them better, we can guide them, not by force, but through proper direction. But we must be cautious, very cautious. A deep, heavy silence settled over the council chamber as each representative weighed Zortha's words and debated the possible futures that lay ahead. Above them, the galactic map shimmered anxiously, as if the stars and planets themselves understood the gravity of the moment. This decision would determine the fate of not only humanity but the entire galaxy. The Baran representative, GRS, stood once more, his massive frame drawing all eyes toward him. He opened his muscular arms wide, his voice booming with authority. When humans came to our planet, GRS said, his tone filled with anger, they turned even the simplest of rocks into deadly weapons. How can we deal with such a creative and dangerous species? How can we stop them? His words echoed through the crystal walls of the chamber, each one landing with the weight of a hammer. For a moment, it felt as though a shadow had passed over the hearts of everyone present. The future of the galaxy, and of humanity, hung in the balance, waiting for the Council's decision. In the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, the atmosphere was thick with tension as the representatives of the universe's most advanced civilizations gathered to deliberate on the fate of humanity. The crystalline dome above shimmered in the starlight, casting iridescent reflections on the polished surfaces below. The Valerian representative, Lyra, was the first to speak after a long pause. Her elegant form, marked by a delicate, translucent skin that seemed to glow in the ambient light, made her presence one of calm but formidable authority. She touched the table with her slender fingers, her movements deliberate and poised. Humans are indeed creative and dangerous, Lyra said, her voice soft but carrying across the chamber. However, it may be within our power to control their creativity. It's not their ingenuity that makes them inherently dangerous, but how they choose to use it. If we can find a way to guide that creativity toward peaceful ends, there may still be hope. Her tone was contemplative, as if weighing every possibility before her words left her lips. From the opposite side of the chamber, the Flinter representative, Arya, fluttered her wings delicately, her shimmering scales reflecting a cascade of colors as they caught the light. Her race, known for their deep connection to nature, had been among the most grievously affected by humanity's encroachment on their homeworlds. Arya floated forward, her movements graceful in the zero-gravity environment, and when she spoke, there was both sorrow and hope in her voice. On our planet, Arya began, her voice echoing softly beneath the crystal dome, humans even turned the plants into weapons. What they did was a violation of nature, of the harmony we live by. There was a tremor in her voice, an undeniable pain at the memory. We Flinters cherish peace, but I fear that achieving peace with humans may be beyond our reach. And yet, she paused, her iridescent wings fluttering gently, if we could direct their abilities toward peace, perhaps a solution could be found. Her words, tinged with hope, lingered in the air like the last rays of a setting sun. Zorth, the magnificent Yulin leader and president of the council, glided toward the center of the chamber with his rainbow-colored, crystalline body refracting light in every direction. His movements were fluid, graceful, and with a gesture of his crystalline hand, he called for calm. "Esteemed council members," Zorth said, his resonant voice echoing like a perfectly struck chime, GRS's concerns are valid. The abilities humans possess, particularly their boundless creativity, do present a significant threat. They can turn the most benign of things into weapons of unimaginable destruction. But, he added, his tone softening, we must ask ourselves if destruction is the only solution. Rather than eradicating them, perhaps guiding them toward peace is the more sustainable option. If we can channel their creativity and energy toward constructive, rather than destructive, ends, the galaxy might yet find a lasting solution. His words cast a blanket of thoughtful silence over the assembly. GRS, the Baran representative, stepped forward, his powerful frame towering over many of the other delegates. The Barans were warriors by nature, a species that thrived in combat. However, Even GRS's formidable race had been shaken by humanity's ability to wage war in unprecedented ways. His voice, deep and gravelly, reverberated through the chamber, his muscular arms gesturing with intensity. "We Barans are skilled in battle," GRS began, "but their creative nature is different from the wars we are accustomed to. How can we train them when even their simplest of tools can become deadly weapons? Their unpredictability is a danger to us all. How can we possibly control such a species?" His fists clenched as he spoke, clearly frustrated by the conundrum they faced. Arya, ever the advocate for peace, gave a slight smile, her wings fluttering softly as she addressed GRS's concerns. "Perhaps," she said gently, "understanding their culture, their instincts, and their motivations is the first step. Humans are not solely driven by violence. They have shown potential for great compassion and innovation. If we show them the value of peace, if we guide their abilities toward creating rather than destroying, we may find a way to live alongside them. The first step may be education, not eradication." Lyra, who had been watching the discussion unfold with sharp, attentive eyes, turned her gaze toward Zorth. Her calm demeanor hid the weight of her thoughts, but when she spoke, her voice carried the careful precision of someone who had considered every angle. "This is a great risk," she admitted, her voice steady. "But if we succeed, it could be one of the greatest gains the galaxy has ever seen. Imagine a galaxy where humans, with all their creative potential, work for the good of the universe. Their abilities, harnessed for peaceful purposes, could benefit every species in this chamber." She paused, allowing the enormity of her words to settle on the room. "But the risk is great. They must be willing to change, and we must be cautious in our approach." Another silence fell over the chamber, the weight of the debate pressing heavily on the gathered council members. The shimmering light from the stars beyond the dome danced across the representatives, creating an otherworldly glow that made the moment feel even more significant. The decision they were about to make would shape the future of the galaxy, and every delegate could feel the gravity of what was at stake. Zorth, gliding slowly back to the center, turned his crystalline body toward the gathering. His voice, calm but filled with purpose, echoed across the chamber. "Training humans, guiding them, and ensuring they follow a peaceful path will be neither simple nor quick. It will be a long and difficult process, one fraught with challenges. But if we succeed, if we manage to turn their strengths toward peace, we will have gained allies unlike any we have ever known." His words were filled with a cautious optimism, but his crystalline eyes betrayed the understanding of the monumental task that lay ahead. GRS, though still skeptical, nodded slowly. His arms remained crossed, but the fire in his eyes had dimmed slightly. Arya fluttered her wings once more, a hopeful smile on her lips as she floated back to her seat. Lyra remained poised, her mind calculating the risk and the reward of what had been discussed. The future of humanity, and the galaxy, was uncertain, but for the first time in the meeting, there was a sense that perhaps peace was not entirely out of reach. The council members would continue their debate for many hours, but one thing was clear: the decision they made in that chamber would echo across the stars for generations to come. As the Galactic Council continued its deliberations, a tension hung in the air so thick it felt palpable. Zorth, the magnificent Yulan leader, had just finished speaking, his crystalline body reflecting the soft light of the distant stars. His voice, calm yet filled with the gravity of the situation, resonated across the council chamber. "If we succeed in guiding humanity," he said, his voice echoing like the gentle chime of a bell, "it will be a significant step for the future of our galaxy." GRS, the Baran representative, stood with a stern expression etched across his battle-hardened face. His broad frame and powerful stance commanded attention as he stepped forward. "Training humans will be challenging," he began, his voice deep and unwavering. "We must not forget that they are inherently warriors. Their history is one of conflict. We need to proceed with extreme caution during this process." Lyra, the Valerian representative, had been listening carefully to the discussion, her delicate fingers resting lightly on the polished surface of the council table. She spoke thoughtfully, her soft voice carrying a quiet intensity. "Perhaps," she suggested, "we can start by showing them how delicate and valuable our galaxy truly is. If they can see the beauty in what they stand to protect, perhaps they will be inspired to change. Their creative nature, which has brought both destruction and innovation, could hold great potential for peaceful purposes." As Lyra's words hung in the air, a sudden movement from the grand doors at the far end of the chamber caught everyone's attention. The heavy doors, which rarely opened during council sessions, began to part with a soft, almost reverent hiss. A brilliant light flooded into the chamber, momentarily blinding those present. Within that light, the figure of a human emerged, walking confidently toward the gathered representatives. David, the human representative, approached with calm yet purposeful strides. Under the dazzling light of the crystal dome, his upright posture and determined gaze conveyed a quiet strength. His eyes, filled with resolve, met those of the council members as he stood before them. "Esteemed council members," David began, his voice carrying through the chamber with a tone of respect and conviction, "we humans wish to live in peace with you. Yes, it is true that we possess the ability to turn anything into a weapon. But this ability is not something we intend to use recklessly. We wish to use it only for defense, to protect ourselves and those we care about. If you work with us, together we can preserve the peace of the universe." The chamber remained silent for a moment, all eyes fixed on David. It was GRS who finally broke the silence, his skepticism unmistakable. "Humans have spoken like this before," he said, his deep voice laced with mistrust. "And yet, time and again, they have brought only destruction. You claim to seek peace, but why should we trust you now, when your kind has failed to live peacefully in the past?" David took a deep breath, his eyes reflecting the weight of GRS's words. He knew the challenge of gaining their trust would be immense, but he was ready. "I understand your doubts," he responded, his voice steady. "I know that our past actions have weakened your faith in us. But we have learned from our mistakes. We no longer wish to repeat them. We seek to move forward, to build a future where we use our abilities not to destroy, but to protect. Give us the chance, and we will prove that we are capable of change." Arya, the Flinter representative, fluttered her wings gently, the light reflecting off her iridescent scales in a mesmerizing dance. Her people, deeply connected to nature, had suffered greatly under humanity's expansion. She gazed at David with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "If you truly seek peace," she asked softly, "can you use these abilities to protect nature as well? We Flinters are part of nature itself, and we cannot stand by while it is harmed. Can you humans live in harmony with it, rather than turning it into a tool of destruction?" David turned toward Arya, his expression sincere. "Yes," he replied earnestly. "Protecting nature and living in harmony with it is one of our goals as well. We recognize the damage we have caused, but we can learn to do better. We can assist you in preserving the natural worlds you hold dear." Zorth, who had been observing the exchange closely, glided toward David with his crystalline body shimmering in the soft light. His voice, calm but filled with the weight of leadership, echoed through the chamber. "What you are saying carries great responsibility, David," Zorth said, his gaze sharp and probing. "If you and your people wish to work with us, are you truly ready to take on that responsibility? It is not an easy task, and the consequences of failure will be dire." David met Zortha's gaze unflinchingly. "Yes, I am ready," he said firmly. "I want to show that humans can change, that we can contribute to the peace and well-being of the galaxy. If you give us a chance, I believe we can accomplish great things together." Lyra, her deep blue eyes fixed on David, spoke next, her voice calm but filled with doubt. "Is it really possible for humans to use their abilities for peace?" she asked. "This requires a significant change, not only in behavior but in mindset. Can humans truly make that shift?" A heavy silence followed Lyra's words as the representatives pondered her question. The stars beyond the crystal dome shimmered faintly, as if reflecting the weight of the council's deliberations. Each representative, from the warrior-like Barans to the peace-loving Flinters, considered the potential consequences of trusting humanity. The decision before them was monumental, one that would determine the future of the galaxy itself. GRS, ever the skeptic, spoke first. "Humanity's past weakens our faith in a peaceful future," he said, his voice stern and resolute. "How can we believe that you have changed when so much destruction has followed in your wake?" Arya fluttered her wings gently, her eyes reflecting both pain and hope. "The damage to our nature is evidence of how dangerous humans can be," she said softly. "Even if their intentions are peaceful, their actions often speak otherwise." David stood before them, his heart heavy with the weight of the council's skepticism. But despite the doubt that surrounded him, his determination remained unshaken. "I cannot change the past," he said, his voice steady and resolute. "But I can promise you this: we have learned from our mistakes, and we are ready to prove that we can be a force for peace, not destruction. All I ask is for the chance to show you." The chamber fell silent once more, the weight of David's words hanging in the air like a delicate balance that could tip either way. The fate of humanity, and the galaxy, rested on the decision of the Council, a decision that would echo across the stars for generations to come. David left the council chamber with a heavy heart, the sting of rejection echoing in his mind. The representatives had listened to his pleas for peace but were too wary of humanity's past to trust his words. As the grand doors of the chamber closed behind him, Zortha's parting words rang in his ears. "David, what you say is hopeful, but our past experiences make it difficult to trust humans. Therefore, we cannot accept your offer." Zortha's crystalline voice had been as clear and firm as the shimmering body he inhabited, leaving no room for further negotiation. Though deeply disappointed, David did not lose hope. The rejection was a setback, but he believed that one day humanity would prove its worth and earn the trust of the galaxy. With that conviction, the humans returned to their corner of the galaxy, continuing their efforts to evolve, strengthen their defenses, and nurture the seeds of peace they so desperately wished to plant. They knew that the path to redemption would be long, but they were committed to walking it. Months passed, and the galactic stage shifted as a new threat emerged. The Nths, a member race of the Galactic Council, found themselves under siege by an unknown and formidable enemy. The once peaceful skies over the Nth homeworld, resplendent with purple and blue hues, were now darkened by the menacing shadows of enemy ships. What had once been a serene, vibrant planet was now gripped by chaos and destruction. In the Nth strategy room, panic had taken hold. Zar, the leader of the Nths, stood before a holographic map, his eyes wide with fear as enemy forces closed in on their planet's defenses. "If they continue at this rate," Zar said, his voice trembling with anxiety, "they will breach our shields within hours." General Kale, his face lined with worry but his voice firm, replied, "Our warriors are fighting bravely, but the enemy is too powerful. Our weapons are insufficient to stop them." Nearby, scientist Maya stared at the rapidly deteriorating situation with desperation. "Their technology far surpasses ours. Even our most advanced energy shields are collapsing under the intensity of their attacks. We're running out of time," she said, her voice cracking with fear. The room fell into a tense silence as the Nth leaders struggled to find a solution. Every attempt to repel the invaders had failed, and the clock was ticking. Just when all seemed lost, a sudden message broke the silence, and a figure appeared on the holographic screen: David, the human representative. "Nths, we are coming to help," David declared, his voice filled with determination and urgency. "Hold on. Reinforcements are on their way." The message was met with mixed reactions. Some in the room were hesitant, remembering the Council's distrust of humanity. But desperation overruled hesitation, and the hope that the humans might be able to turn the tide of battle flickered in their hearts. Outside, the darkened sky over the Nth planet began to shift. In the distance, the black void was illuminated by brilliant flashes of light, as human ships descended from orbit. The sight was awe-inspiring. The massive vessels were surrounded by shimmering energies of blue and green, their arrival a beacon of hope amidst the chaos of the battlefield. The human fleet had arrived, led by David himself, their ships moving with precision and purpose. As the human forces landed on the planet's surface, the battlefield erupted into a scene of panic and chaos. The enemy's relentless assault had brought the Nth defenses to the brink of collapse. The skies were filled with energetic explosions, and enemy ships continued to rain down laser fire on the planet. The Nth defense systems, weakened and overextended, were struggling to counter the onslaught. On board the human command ship, David stood on the bridge, his eyes scanning the holographic displays that surrounded him. The screens showed a detailed map of the battlefield, the positions of enemy forces, and the critical points where their attacks were concentrated. His mind raced as he formulated a plan, determined to save the Nths from annihilation. Next to him, Engineer LRA, a sharp-minded strategist, reviewed the data on her tablet with quick, efficient movements. "Energy shields are ready," she said, her excitement barely contained. "We can neutralize their laser beams. It's our best shot." David nodded, his expression resolute. "Activate the targeting systems. We need to direct the energy shields to cover the planet's surface." "Everything must go smoothly," he said, his voice filled with determination. The human fleet moved swiftly. Ships began to spread out, creating a massive protective shield that encompassed the planet. The energy barriers shimmered in the sky like a magnificent aurora of purple and blue light, casting an ethereal glow over the beleaguered world. As the enemy's laser beams made contact with the shield, they were absorbed and neutralized, exploding harmlessly in bursts of light that faded into the shield's protective barrier. The Nths, who had been on the verge of despair, now looked on in awe as the human defenses held firm. The enemy's relentless attacks had been halted, their powerful weapons unable to breach the shield. The tide of the battle had turned, and for the first time in weeks, the Nths felt a glimmer of hope. Back in the strategy room, Zar, General Kale, and Scientist Maya watched the holographic map with renewed energy. "They're doing it," Maya whispered in disbelief. "They're actually holding them off." Zar, his earlier fear now replaced with cautious optimism, turned to General Kale. "We owe the humans more than we ever imagined. They might be the reason we survive this." David, still monitoring the battlefield from the command ship, felt the weight of the moment. The humans had been rejected by the Council, distrusted because of their past. But now, in the face of this common enemy, they were proving that they could be more than the galaxy's aggressors. They could be its defenders. As the battle continued, the enemy forces began to retreat, unable to overcome the combined might of the human energy shields and the Nth defense forces. The sky, once darkened by enemy ships, was slowly cleared, the remnants of the invading fleet vanishing into the distant stars. For the Nths, this victory was more than just survival. It was a reminder that alliances, even unexpected ones, could change the course of history. And for David, it was a glimmer of hope that one day, humanity might earn the trust of the galaxy. The night sky above the Nth planet was a battlefield illuminated by the brilliant flashes of energy and destruction. Sparks danced like fireworks across the horizon as David's energy barriers, projected from the human ships, held firm against the relentless assault of the enemy. From his vantage point, Nth leader Zar stood in awe, his eyes reflecting the vibrant lights as the barriers shimmered in hues of blue and purple, neutralizing the enemy's attacks. In the midst of the chaos, he quickly contacted David through the holographic communication device. Zar's voice was filled with astonishment and newfound hope as he spoke. "David, the impact of this technology is incredible. The barriers have fortified our planetary defenses in ways we never imagined," Zar said, his voice quivering with relief. David, calm and focused despite the intensity of the battle, responded with the confidence of a seasoned commander. "The barriers are designed to neutralize their firepower. We're here to fully support the defense of your planet, Zar. Rest assured, we won't let them break through." On the surface of the Nth planet, however, the situation remained dire. The battlefield was a chaotic expanse, littered with fire and debris. Enemy laser fire rained down from above, illuminating the war-torn ground in blinding streaks of light. Yet, as the energy barriers created by the human ships expanded and strengthened, they formed radiant rings around the planet, intercepting and rendering the enemy's once powerful weapons ineffective. Each time an enemy ship unleashed a volley of lasers, it was met with a dazzling burst of energy as the barriers absorbed and dissipated the attack. The Nth warriors, emboldened by the protection of the energy shields, fought with renewed vigor. Once paralyzed by fear, they now charged forward with confidence, launching counterattacks at the enemy ships. Their faith in the humans' technology had breathed new life into their efforts. Human ships, hovering strategically above the battlefield, provided vital support to the Nth forces, their advanced technology allowing them to direct the battle with precision. Inside the human command ship, David closely monitored the events unfolding on the holographic screens. The displays showed real-time updates of the battlefield, the enemy's movements, the weakening of their attacks, and the status of the energy barriers. His voice, sharp and authoritative, cut through the tension in the command center as he issued directives to his crew. "Increase the energy flow to the barriers," David ordered, his eyes never leaving the screens. "We need to weaken their heavy weapons even more. Keep their firepower in check." Engineer LRA, standing beside him, quickly complied. Her fingers danced across her tablet as she assessed the energy levels and made the necessary adjustments. "Energy flow increased," she confirmed. "The barriers are now more resistant to their attacks. We should see their firepower diminish even further." As the energy barriers grew stronger, the Nth warriors behind them pressed their advantage. Bolstered by the newfound protection, they launched a relentless assault on the enemy ships. General Kale, who had been observing the battle from a forward command post, saw the shift in momentum and acted quickly. His deep voice echoed through the comms as he addressed the Nth commanders under his command. The enemy's firepower is weakening. Their weapons can't penetrate the shields, Kale said, his voice filled with encouragement. This is our chance. Take the fight to them. Launch a full attack. Responding to his rallying cry, the Nth forces unleashed a barrage of laser fire, their weapons now far more effective against the struggling enemy ships. Explosions lit up the darkened sky as enemy vessels collided with the energy barriers or were struck down by the Nth counterattacks. Some ships disintegrated in fiery bursts, while others took heavy damage, limping away from the fight. David, watching the battle unfold on the command screens, could see that the tide was turning. The enemy's once coordinated assault was breaking down under the relentless pressure. Seizing the opportunity, David issued a new set of orders. Give the signal for a strategic retreat, he commanded. Encircle their remaining ships and tighten our defensive lines. We need to maintain control over the battlefield and eliminate any remaining threats. Following his orders, the Nth forces moved with precision, surrounding the remaining enemy ships and pushing them back toward the edge of the battlefield. The energy barriers, now fully operational and radiating power, repelled any last-ditch efforts by the enemy to launch an attack. Explosions on the planet's surface, once a constant and terrifying presence, began to diminish as the enemy's offensive firepower was neutralized. As the battle neared its conclusion, the enemy ships began to retreat in earnest, unable to withstand the combined might of the Nth warriors and the humans' technological superiority. General Kale, witnessing the enemy's withdrawal, turned to one of the Nth commanders beside him, his expression one of deep gratitude. Thanks to the humans, we were able to protect our planet, Kale said, his voice heavy with emotion. This victory is proof of what we can achieve together. Their energy shields saved us. As the last of the enemy ships disappeared into the distance, Zar once again contacted David through the holographic communication system, his voice filled with overwhelming relief and gratitude. David, you saved our planet, Zar said, his voice trembling slightly. Your energy barriers, your strategy, they turned the tide of the battle. We owe our survival to you and your team. Words cannot express how grateful we are. David's holographic figure appeared before Zar, his expression humble yet firm. We're here for cooperation and peace, Zar, David replied. The battle was a necessary struggle, but together we combined our forces to protect this galaxy. That's what matters most. As the fires of war began to die down and the skies over the Nth planet cleared, the alliance between the humans and the Nths had been solidified through their shared victory. The humans, once regarded with suspicion and distrust, had proven their worth as protectors and allies. And for David, this was just the beginning of humanity's journey to earn the trust of the galaxy. As the battle ended, a serene silence fell over the planet. The chaos that had once gripped the surface was now a memory, replaced by the calm aftermath of victory. The joint forces of the humans and the Nths had triumphed, and the people on the planet celebrated their hard-earned success. Above them, the sky was still aglow with the shimmering hues of the human energy barriers, casting blue and purple lights across the landscape, serving as both a shield during the conflict and now, a symbol of the newfound bond between the two races. This historic moment was more than just a victory. It was the dawn of a new era of cooperation, one that would ripple across the galaxy. Though the battle was over, the marks of war remained. Blackened craters and the charred remains of enemy ships marred the surface of the Nth planet, reminders of the fierce conflict that had taken place just hours earlier. Despite the destruction, the night sky told a different story. The human energy barriers continued to pulse with vibrant colors, creating a breathtaking aurora that danced across the heavens. Underneath this celestial light show, at the heart of the planet, a large plaza had become the gathering place for the people. Standing in the center of the plaza were two figures who had played a pivotal role in this victory, Nth leader Zur and David, the human commander. They stood side by side beneath the radiant auroras, their eyes reflecting the shimmering light that bathed the planet in a soft, ethereal glow. Zur, with his crystalline skin that gleamed like the surface of a jewel, stepped forward to address David. His voice was thick with gratitude and emotion, and his movements deliberate, as if fully understanding the significance of this moment. David, Zur began, his voice filled with both relief and awe, without you and your people, our planet might have been lost. It is thanks to the bravery and advanced technology of the humans that we survived this onslaught. David, ever humble, bowed his head slightly in response, his expression one of quiet sincerity. We seek only to live in peace and cooperation, using our technology for defense and the protection of the peace throughout the universe, he said, his words carrying the weight of human hope for a brighter, more united future. Following David's words, Xur felt the gravity of the moment and knew what needed to be done. He turned to the holographic communication device, sending an urgent message to the Council of the Galaxy. As the holographic screens activated, the soft light illuminated Xur's face, highlighting the seriousness in his crystalline features. "Esteemed council members," Xur began, his voice firm yet filled with emotion, "the humans did not fight this battle merely with their technology. They fought with their hearts, their courage, and their unwavering commitment to peace and cooperation. They fought not for conquest, but for the survival of peace in the galaxy. Now, we must acknowledge the bravery of this race and extend our hand in friendship. The humans deserve a place at our side, as protectors of peace." The message was broadcast to the council chamber, where the various galactic representatives sat in silence, listening intently to Xur's plea. GRS, the tall and slender representative of the Barans, regarded the message thoughtfully, his long body coiled in contemplation. Arya, the graceful Flinter representative, fluttered her delicate wings as the shimmering reflections of the battle's exhaustion lingered on her iridescent scales. Zorth, the crystalline representative of the Yulian people, remained deep in thought, while Valerian representative Lyra, with her calm and analytical demeanor, took notes on her tablet as the weight of the decision loomed over them all. As the council deliberated, Xur turned once again to David. His voice, now quieter but filled with determination, carried the weight of their collective futures. "This is a pivotal moment for the galaxy. Humans have proven their commitment to peace. With your help, we will only grow stronger together. This could be the start of something greater than either of us could have imagined." David took Xur's hand in a firm grasp, his eyes meeting the Nth leader's with sincerity. "Together, we can safeguard peace and security across the galaxy. Humans are ready to stand by your side, as allies and as members of this galaxy's family," he said, his voice resolute. The council members weighed Xur's words carefully, the atmosphere in the chamber heavy with anticipation. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, GRS spoke. His voice, clear and measured, cut through the silence. "The bravery and creativity of the humans have impressed us. Their actions today have proven their intentions. We accept them as full members of the Council. Together, we will be stronger, united in our pursuit of peace." Arya, with a gentle flap of her wings, added, "This is the dawn of a new era, one where humans and Nths work together for a brighter, more peaceful future." With the Council's approval, the bond between the humans and the Nths was sealed. In the plaza, David and Xur, standing shoulder to shoulder, shook hands, a powerful symbol of their victory and the newfound friendship between their races. All around them, the citizens of the Nth planet gathered to witness this moment, their faces filled with hope for what the future held. The sky above them continued to glow with the radiant energy of the barriers, a brilliant display of color that mirrored the promise of a peaceful and united galaxy. As the people cheered and celebrated, the significance of the moment resonated far beyond the planet's surface. The alliance between the humans and the Nths marked a turning point, not just for the two races, but for the entire galaxy. It was the beginning of an era where cooperation would triumph over conflict, where different species could come together, united by their shared desire for peace and security. This historic moment, born from the fires of battle, would echo throughout the galaxy for generations to come. It was a symbol of hope, of what could be achieved when differences were set aside and common goals were pursued. And as the auroras continued to dance in the night sky, the promise of a new era of peace and cooperation shone brighter than ever before.